Hi, I just came from another panel, so I'm a little bit out of breath, but thank you so much for having me, and I'm sorry that I missed NEI, your Q&A. I would have loved to have been here for that. I was asked to just go over Washington State and just a little bit of what's happening in energy in Washington State. I represent the other side of Washington. So there is the urban side, the I-5 corridor, Seattle, Pierce County, King County, Snohomish County, and then there's the other side of the mountains, which is more of the red part of the state. And it's drier, and it's warmer, and it's sunnier, so please come out and visit. One of the things that I do at the state level is I am the founder of the Washington State Nuclear Energy Caucus. They've never had a nuclear energy caucus there before, which is weird because we have an active nuclear power plant, which is over a gig. And that's a big deal, clean energy. And one of our goals at the Nuclear Energy Caucus is really just to inform, educate, and really try to answer questions, and not coming from a Republican and not trying to teach the Democrats. That's the big thing. That's the big rub. Nobody wants to sit down and hear the other party talk about, oh, this is, I don't know why nuclear is a partisan thing. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It shouldn't be partisan. There's a lot of Democrats that do support it and understand, and it's not because they're, anyway, before I go out on a limb or down a rabbit hole, let's just say that the goal is so that we can come together and have a conversation and have the patience to really find some common ground in this space, in the space of nuclear power and nuclear energy. And so one of the things that we do is have members or presenters that come and do our lunch and learns to really talk. We have, let's see, Carol Browner, Obama's energy czar, and then also under the energy secretary under Clinton, and then former Secretary Ernest Moniz. So we had him come out too, and all of our presenters are nonpartisan. They are either, we've had Mark come out from NEI a couple of times, and it really is about teaching us, because there really is a disconnect. I'm not a nuclear engineer, nor is anyone in our legislature. So we just want the facts. We want it straight and clear, and transparency is key, and honesty is key, and you do have to trust each other. So that's one thing that I've been working on in energy since the day that I was elected, because my district is District 8, the home of the Manhattan Project, the home of the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, the home of the Columbia Generating Station, the home of Framatome, the home of Battelle, Bechtel. We have NuScale, all things nuclear, that we are the nuclear leader in the Pacific Northwest. So that's kind of what we focused on. And this session, I had I've always had at least 2 or 3 nuclear bills every session. This is the first session that I got something passed with nuclear. And it was in large part due to the Nuclear Energy Caucus. The other thing that's coming to the surface in Washington, which the other side of the aisle that was their #1 top priority, was transmission. It just so happens that I'm kind of an environmentalist Republican. I do think that humans play a role in polluting our air and emitting CO2, and I do think that has a negative effect on the earth. And while I'm not going to exchange with any of you about the realities of climate change, I'm down. It doesn't matter to me whether it's even true or not. What matters is that we need to do a better job, and we need to decarbonize. And our state has really, really strict goals that we're trying to meet, 0 emissions by 2050, and we're not going to make it. So we need to build. One of the books I'm reading, just to understand the other side, is Why Nothing Works. I can't remember the author to save my soul, but he talks about Hamiltonianism versus Jeffersonianism. We are definitely in the Jeffersonianism side of our progressivism. We have to start thinking Hamiltonianism and say, Government needs to build shit. I'm sorry, we need to build stuff. This is something we need to have happen right now. We need to get back into that Hamiltonianism mindset and start looking at the government as we need to catch up. We've created backed ourselves into a corner with regulation that have slowed things down. We have put other things as top priority, and now that we need it, we have major, major problems. I went on a bunch of tours because I'm trying to really understand the transmission piece, and I really wanted to work across the aisle on this because I knew it was the Democrats' top priority. So one of the things I did was I went on a bunch of tours. I said, show me the latest transmission projects and tell me about them. So I went on Energize East Side. This was in Bellevue. It took them 17 years to build 15 miles of transmission. I'm like, that is not going to work. It's just, there is no way we are going to meet demand. And if you've read any of the studies and research that's been done lately on demand, at least in my region, the Pacific Northwest, we need 9 gigs. We're going to double in 10 years, we're going to double our demand. Right now, we're looking at rolling blackouts that may start the end of this next month. So we are in a world of hurt, and we don't have the generation to pick that back up. We just took our last functioning coal-fired power plant offline December 31st, 2025. What's going to make up for that? What are we going to do? We're going to buy a really, really expensive energy off the grid from other areas and import it, and that's going to cost our ratepayers a fortune. Right now, PSE, which is in the Puget Sound area, that I-5 corridor, just had a 30% rate raise. I mean, that is totally and completely unsustainable. Can't do that. We cannot do that. We have to have more generation. We have to get it on the grid. We have to have a grid to put it on. And so these are top priorities. So this bill that my caucus I knew was going to hate, I mean, I knew it because they wanted the original bill drafter wanted to have a generation authority in Washington State. And this authority is, as a Republican, you look at that and just think bureaucracy and money, flying away, going away, never coming back. Because we already have BPA, we have our private utilities, we have our co-ops, we have, it's dysfunctional. It's pretty dysfunctional because they're all siloed, and BPA, Bonneville Power Administration, does not, they don't build things that are still on the queue. It has to exist. So it's kind of this backwards thing. They're not really forward facing. They're not proactive. They don't say, okay, we really think this is legit. Show us the money, show us how this project's gonna work, show us how it's worked other places, and then we'll build at the same time you're building. Doesn't work like that. So we have to have something to kind of kick BPA in the butt, number one, and then number two, we have to take that on ourselves as a state. So that's what I focused on. As a Republican, how can I help in the transmission space? I don't know, how could I was thinking to myself, as a caucus, what can I do? So I just I met with my local PUDs, and I said, this bill's happening whether you like it or not, so we need to come up with a Republican version of this bill that you can agree to and that you can embrace. So we came up with a Republican version of the Transmission Authority bill. My version, I included SEPA exemptions as a carrot so that our utilities would be incentivized to build transmission. And that was shot down immediately by the tribes. And I tried to work with them and talk to them. It was really tough. My number one rule is really no surprises. So I did go and meet with our tribal council, the entire council. So me in a room this big with about as many people from the tribes to talk about this bill and what we were going to do about transmission. Well, they don't trust the government, and rightfully so. There's reasons why, and there's history that shows why. So it's one of those things where I'm trying to reach across the aisle, trying to make things happen as far as transmission, because I know we need it too. But there's a lot of NIMBYs out there that don't want transmission in their backyard. Nobody wants a big transmission line going through their yard and their property. It reduces your property value. So I thought, well, okay, well, I'll meet with the PUDs. We'll see if we can come up with a solution. And my local PUD came up with an idea to have like a transmission authority light, where it would just be the state that would try to find these corridors, larger corridors for transmission. And it would be their job to utilize eminent domain. Scary word, but do you want, I know I don't want stranded assets. I don't want to, I mean, I'm from the Whoops neighborhood, remember? So that was a massive, massive bungle for federal dollars to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. So we can't have that. So I knew we have to build transmission. We have to work across the aisle. So what do? So I created this Republican bill, met with stakeholders, reached across the aisle. I met with all the environmentalists. I said, how can we work this? How can we do this? I met with the PUDs, all of the associations. I met with BPA. I met with anyone and everyone that I could think of that was a stakeholder in this space to talk about how we could make this bill bipartisan. Sadly, my caucus didn't like it because they're never going to be okay with creating a big government bureaucracy and having to pay for it. And then we're have money problems in Washington State, and so that was not going to be funded. We just didn't have the money to fund it, so that didn't make a whole lot of sense for them. So my own caucus didn't support my Republican version of this bill. The PUDs, not my PUD got behind me, but the state PUDs didn't support it. There was really nobody that wanted this, except the Democrats that wanted to get transmission built and felt like BPA wasn't doing their job. Long story short, no, it's not. It's not short. I'm sorry, it's a little long. But the end of the story is this: my caucus and none of the stakeholders would support my version of the bill. But in the end, the Democrat bill that did pass took 5 amendments straight out of the draft of my bill, which I never dropped because it didn't have any support. So what's the point? Okay, so it never passed, but it created all the amendments which the Democrats took. So now we do have an affordable state transmission authority that has a lot of guardrails, a lot of protections, and a lot of space for improvement and working across the aisle. I actually met with the governor's office, his staff, and those across the aisle that were working directly on this bill, and it put in a lot of hard time and effort. The point to this story is, number one, radical transparency. I think that's number one. If we're just honest, I think it takes a lot of the politics out of it. And then you have to be not afraid to lose. Like, I mean, if I lose, it's okay. Heaven knows, all of us know we don't make any money at this job. I just want to do something good for Washington State. I want to make it better. I want us to have clean, affordable, reliable, dependable power. I don't want to happen to us what happened to Texas. We have to make compromises. What happened in the end was I made meaningful relationships on the other side of the aisle and ended up passing my nuclear bill because of it. Because of that trust that was developed, it was a targeted urban area tax exemption extension for nuclear. And although there was many obstacles, and it took me 3 years to pass, the reason why it ended up passing, not because I made some deal, some, smoky room, dark room, downstairs of the Capitol building, but because of open and honest conversations to find common ground on what actually our state needs. And I think that's the key. You have to be unafraid to have people mad at you, and that's just the way it is in politics. And your own caucus might be mad at you for supporting something that Democrats are running, and vice versa. But in the end, we both got what we wanted, and Washington State is on a better track to clean, reliable, resilient, dispatchable power. So anyway, thank you so much. We don't have any time left, but if you have any questions about that, I'm free and happy to talk about this afterwards, and thanks for listening.